I was wondering whether you would speak a little bit about the excuse me, the World Wildlife Fund and how that's impacting people.
I think the tribal people have, when we met some people in this trip, in the Kannagi tour that Derek and I did, there I think some of the tribal people, they're part of this, I think tribal people in India on a larger forum, there's some federation that they're part of. And they were talking about how money was given to people to move out of the forests. And so many people they were given per family 10 lakh of rupees, which is a lot of money, you know, for people who are actually, they are daily wage earners. You know, if they do any work, they might get 50 rupees, 100 rupees a day. For them to be offered 10 lakh, 1 lakh is 100,000.
Right.
So
1 million.
Yeah.
It's 1 million.
1 million. They were offered per family to move out. And then there were many families were willing to take that money to move out. And but then the tribal people, the elders, and you know, as part of the federation, they got together and actually went to court, and they got a stay order, meaning that this money should not be given. And they had asked for where this money is coming from, who is making us move out of our places and all that. And then they had actually stopped, so that right now they're not supposed to give money to make people move out. So that's the stay order that they had received. But then many of the tribal people, at least most of them, do live in this reservations that is there for them. You know, and their movement is monitored. Who they're talking to, strangers, anybody new, they are questioned. A lot of issues that are happening there. And one interesting thing that I thought I must mention when talking about the tribal people, that you had spoken earlier in the meeting we had last time, where we're talking about medicine and the tribal people. This person particular, the head of that community, he was saying that we don't give any plant medicine now to our children because those plant medicines are not working. Our children are born in hospitals. So they encourage deliveries in the hospitals. So the mother and the baby are, you know, given the vaccinations there. So he was saying, they're getting all kinds of injections now, so none of our plant medicines are working. So we don't we don't think about those plant medicines anymore. You know, these were all some things that they were talking about. So I think this is all part of how, you know, when we talk about better health facilities and all of that, how that is impacting some communities.
Yeah.
You know? And the need to think about plant medicine also is not as much as they used to. They don't see it as a need anymore. They're beginning to think that it's okay. We can go to the hospital. And hospitals, government services are quite good, especially in Tamil Nadu. They have hospitals that really reach out. They have sub-centers, public health clinics, where there's free medicine, free health care, and they encourage babies to be born in the hospitals or in this little health facility. So they're getting good care in that sense. But if you really look at it from their point of view, there are certain things that they feel now they don't need to pay attention or really think about their medicine people and all that anymore. So that is a thing that's happening side by side. It's for us to just think about what does that mean, you know, what is the implication of all of this.
And I guess I have a question based on that is, what does it mean as a counselor? In terms of the wider scope, because I know, you know, in my work as a counselor, I work with individuals, but I'm also really working with communities. So I'm wondering if you could, if you can, and maybe part of the moment, but take a moment to think about how your work in the counseling center can support maybe
I think many counselors at this point, I think it's very difficult for them to fathom this, because many times we are so scientific in that sense of, we think so much about trauma, we think about, but even this thing of displacement, it doesn't really hit you, until you speak to a person like that. And I feel that most counselors in today's setup actually do not work with grassroots level people. So you don't know what is happening, right? And I think for me the exposure has, because I've been involved with the Storytelling Institute, with Eric's organization, for me to do something else. And by the way, I see these issues. But as a counselor, I don't end up, seeing these issues. That's not what I'm seeing on the field. We are more into hospital setups or healthcare facilities that way. So you see it only from that perspective. You don't see it from the people's perspective. And so that way, I think I'll say that almost all counselors here have no idea what that really means, in terms of looking at it. The fisher community people here who are being displaced now, this is by the government itself. And those people, as a social worker, see, I'm coming with a social work background, right? So as a social worker, somewhere the training has been that they're going to get better facilities. But it's not until you meet people, not until you talk to them, that you realize that if there are 500 families there, most people are given money to move out. There may be, out of 500, maybe 100 or 150 who fight to stay in their same place. And those are the only ones who are going to be given houses in that place. The rest of them are given money and asked to move out. So, and where are they asked to move? They are asked to move to all these places which are so far away. The fishermen don't have access to sea anymore. So what are they doing? So livelihood itself has been, you're asking a whole lot of people to just change the kind of work they're doing, and they've been doing for so many years. What has happened in these pockets that fishermen are asked to move out, the crime rate has become so severe in those places. Those houses do not have any facilities.
They don't.
Drainage, water, electricity, nothing.
We've both gone through the fishing village with Eric.
This place is what they have built, so they'll take wires from somewhere and they'll have electricity. But the places where they have been moved to, they don't have anything, nothing at all. So they don't have bathroom facilities, nothing. So it's like basically like a shell, the kind of the house that they have given them. Nothing is there inside. And they've been given money, a large sum of money. And what happens to the large sum of money is invariably the men are drinking it all up, or they're gambling. And there's a lot of gambling that's going on in these areas. So really it's caused so much of, so many issues that have come up. Even when the tsunami came, people were moved out from their places saying that, another tsunami may come, so, we'll provide these shelters for you. And at that point of time, because people were so panic stricken, they were ready to move out. So they were taken to places very, very far away from the sea. And they had these, like tin sheets, shelters that were made. And it was just horrible. And they were there for more than a year. In fact, some places that are there in Chennai, still the tsunami, what they call rehabilitation homes or homes after the tsunami. And it's just terrible, terrible condition. And these are places where there's so much of crime. You see that, and many of the fishermen, money came pouring in at that time. There's so much money that came from different organizations, individuals, local people, international organizations. Everyone just pooled in and poured money in. And at that point of time, Many fishermen got boats. People who didn't have boats, they were given boats, they were given fishing nets, they were given a whole lot of things that came. Invariably, all of that got sold. See, then they sold it, they got the money, and then drinking was very high. It was really, any of this money that comes in, I think it also needs to come in with some amount of giving people some skills on how to use certain things. That piece goes missing. It's like, okay, here is the money, you take it, or here's a boat for you, now you can go back to fishing. That's not what is enough. The emotional aspect of it is not handled well at all.
Right.
There were so many organizations that came in to actually say that they do the emotional support, but that was not done well, because again, when the government took responsibility of, they said no more people should give money directly. It has to come into the government kitty and we'll do the distribution, because it was like random people. Some people gave little, some people gave more. But then they kind of streamlined it and it went, they did that kind of distribution. So similarly, the emotional support was not given. It was hundreds of people who were there saying that I'm giving counseling, I'm doing art therapy, I'm doing this or that. So many people who came, that was not streamlined. So nobody knew how many people came, who were the different people and what they did. There's no